Hey there! In this video, we will deep dive into everything you need to know about our visual screens. This video will be separated by chapters, so feel free to jump between chapter to chapter to speed up the process. Alright, let's get started. Alright, in this first section of the video, we're going to talk about how to fetch your file. Generally, after you purchase the product, the file will automatically be sent to you in DMs. However, in the unlikely cases that you do not receive your file, don't worry. All you have to do is simply go to our server, click the commands channel, and type in the command /retrieve. From here, it will ask for the product name. All you need to do is type in visual screens. The command will process, and then you will receive a DM. In this DM, it will contain the file of the product. Simply hit the download button, and the product will automatically download to your computer. Now that we have the file, we can open up a game and begin developing and setting up the product. To import the product into my game, all I need to do is simply open my files and go to download. From here, I'll find the product that I downloaded via the DM. I'll click on it and drag it into the base plate. You'll now notice that the product has appeared, including 3 different screen types in the panel. Now we're ready to begin the setup process. So let's get started. So I went ahead and reorganized these screens so I can better explain them. So let's get right back. So once you've downloaded your product and imported it, you'll find that our visual screens come with 3 different screen types. We have static, linear, and dynamic. It's best to understand the differences between these types, otherwise you're going to find this setup process a lot more challenging. We'll begin with the static screen. Static screens are screens that display the image at full scale. There's no positioning or no property editing besides the image itself. So no matter the order, name, or the placement that they're in, it will project the same image. These are like a generic TV, where if your TVs are set to the same channel, the same image will appear on all of the TVs in the room. These are your linear screens. These screens only use one axis, which is the x-axis, to display a row of images equally. These are best for your curving and unique shapes. When setting up a linear screen, however, you must name the objects in the order that you want the graphic to appear. We have our dynamic screens. These screens create their own plane from the fragmented parts. These are perfect for the neat wall designs or those modern church style screens. Alrighty, so now we can go ahead and set up these screens individually. However, I do want to say, if you skipped to this part, please go back and review screen types, otherwise you might not know the terminology used in this section. Alright, we'll begin setting up a static screen. Luckily, these are the easiest screens to set up since it doesn't require any specific properties to function. So, simply, you just need to duplicate these screens to add more or delete them to remove them altogether. So as you can tell, I went ahead and organized these screens in a separate way. If I go into the Explorer, you'll also notice that I didn't name these specifically. It was just pretty much just duplicating it and placing it around. Anyways, one thing that should have popped out is that the screens display the same image. They're not going across each other. It's just strictly the static image. Anyways, I just wanted to add that. Let's go right back to the video. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how to make a linear screen. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe out everything we have here and just stay with this singular part. So I'm going to make the same shape that you saw earlier. So there you go. We pretty much have the original shape back. So from here, to set this up, it's actually pretty simple. What we need to do first is, if you have parts in here and they're not already grouped, you need to group them individually. So I'm going to group these together by hitting Ctrl+G. Then I'm going to right click, hit rename or hit F2, and I'm going to call it curve template. You can call it whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to fix my pivot. So now that we have this here, I'm going to use the same trick that we used earlier, holding down Alt and clicking on the object. So for linear screens to work properly, you must have them ordered from left to right, being the furthest from the left one, and the furthest on the right, the last number. So like in this case, it would be 5. So I'm going to enable the properties panel to make this a little bit easier. And I'm going to hold down Alt and click and name it 1, which is already named. Hold down Alt, click again and name it 2, and so forth. And there we go. As you can see, all of these are named from here, from 1 through 5, with the furthest on the left being the smallest values and the ones on the right having the highest. So with this now, technically my curved screen is ready to be used. I don't have to set up anything else. I can simply hop right into the game and it should work should work accordingly. Now you'll notice if it does not work right, you'll notice there's going to be something a little off with it. It's not going to flow nicely, but in this case and for this sake, as you can see, it flows perfectly, so I know my linear screen is working. So that is the linear screens. Let's now move on to dynamic screens. Alright, so these are the dynamic screen. Pretty much these make their own plane. That is why you can pretty much put them in any position and they'll fit perfectly. That also brings why if it's rotated, it's going to look a little distorted. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new dynamic screen. I'm just going to put them in a random order. So here I go. Alright, so I didn't spend too much time on this one. It was real quick, it's kind of rough. And so you can notice that I didn't have to do any specific naming, like number naming it or anything. Simply, I just put in a group and I'm going to let it do its thing. So now as you can see, when I tried to add an image, it fits perfectly and it works accordingly. So that is how you set up the screens. We're going to go and deep dive into all the settings and the features that this product offers, and eventually we'll get to how to add your own graphics. Alright, so now that we went ahead and set up the screens, it's now time that we set up the back end of the product, which is the settings and the scripts that come with it. So we're going to start by noticing that when you open this folder, you're going to have the types, which is what we just went through. We have core scripts, put in starter player scripts, settings, and then the panel. So you're not going to do anything with core scripts. You don't have to worry about this at all. However, with the put into starter player scripts, like said, we actually need to physically put this in. So to do this, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to starter player. It's near the bottom, so if you have like a huge explorer, you're going to have to scroll all the way down, or closed workspace, that's what I like to recommend. And you're going to make it so you click and drag and you can plop it down into starter player scripts. Now, like I said, if you have that big explorer, you don't want to do that. If you open your properties panel, which I already have open, I can select the script and then go to parent and place it. Boop. And there you go. So now I don't have to like scroll all the way down. So now that we got that ready, your product is ready to be used. Now we're going to go deep dive into the settings and how to configure them. So when you open this up, you're going to be greeted with the visual screens, a little thank you message, and screen types. You don't have to worry about screen types because you've already reviewed this video, so you already have a good understanding. So now we just need to hop down to settings and go through this all. So the first setting you'll find is a permissions category. This is where you make your whitelist and you add the security to the product. So in the visual screen settings, you'll notice it says whitelist. By default, it will be on. If you want it to be open for anyone to touch, then change this to false. To do so, simply double click on true, type in false. But for the sake of the video, I'm gonna keep it on. So kick if not whitelisted is pretty much a feature where if someone does not have access and they still obtain access to the product and attempt to fire or use the product, it will kick them from the game entirely. So I will show you an example of that. I went ahead, you might have noticed you probably have some information here which says like IVAS and then a user ID. I went ahead and removed that to show you how this kick if not whitelisted. Okay, so I went ahead and bypassed it. So as you can see, all of this stuff is on. So if I attempt to hit even just a screen thing here, I get kicked. If you want like the highest security, I recommend it. However, if you just don't want people touching it without them getting kicked, I would not recommend it at all. So you don't have to, you know, like if your servers get locked or like staff locked or whatever mid-event, you probably don't want this setting on. Though if you really want it for the exploiters, I will get it. So now let's hop right back into settings and scroll down to our next one. Okay, so I'm going to disable this one for the sake of the video. However, our next one is delete panel if not whitelisted. A long one, but pretty much like it says, the if true and the person tries to join but they don't have access, it's just going to go ahead and delete that panel right away, so they can't even see this panel. This is the one I highly recommend. I say it's by far the best whitelist setting to have on because people are not even going to know where the panel is. Anyways, so now we've gone through that, let's go through group lock. So to use group lock, double click on this and hit true. And so now technically it's enabled. However, if I try to join, it's not going to pop up under the group I want, which in this case is going to be Techo. That's because the other additional settings are not set accordingly. So to do this, I'm going to actually open up Techo in the browser. As you see, it has popped up. I'm going to go right here with Techo active and copy it, which you can do Control C or just hit that. Head right back to Studio and paste it. So you'll notice it might move it back. All you have to do is click on this and do tab and it'll go right back. It's just a Roblox formatting thing. Not gonna break your script at all. So now for your minimum rank, since I'm the owner, I'm gonna just go ahead and actually do like 250 or something. But you can set this to whatever rank number you want. Though keep in mind the rank number you use is going to be the lowest one possible to use. So it's not like it's going to start on the next one, it's going to start on the number you set. So now with this enabled, when I go to test it, you'll notice that I can actually access the panel now and it pops up all accordingly. It doesn't pop up with like a little "you're not whitelisted" error or anything. So I can actually move up. Beautiful. Alright, so let's hop back into settings. So that is the group lock section. Here comes the custom whitelist section. This takes either user IDs or user names. The most secure you can ever go is using a user ID. So I highly recommend, if you're going to add your name, please just use a user ID. Though you can technically use a username and it's still going to work. So to add a username, here's how this works. You first are going to add a quotation. If you add one quotation, it should automatically add the second one. If it doesn't, you're going to add two. Inside these quotations, you're going to type the username. So I'm going to type IVAS. And then on the end of the quotation, for this to work, I need to hit the comma to know when to divide into the next person that's going to be whitelisted. You need a comma. I'm going to fix the formatting. Now that I have my name on it, and then let me disable group lock real quick. So you'll also notice I will continue to have access. And yep, as you can see, I still have access to the panel. Now to do user ID, this is pretty self-explanatory, but if you don't know, simply you need to just open up your Roblox and hit profile. And then in the search bar, you'll find an ID and you can grab that ID and paste it in. Format it again and add that comma. So So that is how you whitelist system without having group IDs. So this also means if you are in the group and you have group lock on, people who are whitelisted under this directory will continue to have access regardless of their group rank. So keep in mind who you put in here. This is pretty much like the superior access for the panel. So always make sure you're adding the right people and people who are responsible to use the panel. Anyway, following this, you enter your product. This is what actually changes the product itself. So by default, you'll find that auto start is true. Pretty much auto start means is that every time you join the server, the system is going to be on, and it's highly recommended because it just looks nicer in my opinion. Though for the cases you don't want to do that and you're the one who wants to turn on every switch in the house, go straight ahead and just turn that false. Now this next setting is pass-through transparency. So if you don't know, our panels come with a feature called pass-through, and if I go and show you right now. So if you want to make that iconic Billie Eilish moment, you need pass-through. So for pass-through to work, simply you need to come here and hit the button, and voila. This is pure Roblox technology. You hit a button and it made it transparent. So pass-through transparency pretty much means how opaque, translucent, or it could be completely transparent. If you set it to 1, that's 100% gone. That's how you should think about it. It's all by percentages. However, keep in mind, just like in math, 1 is going to be equal your 100%, and 0 is going to be equal 0%. If you have this set to 0%, you're not going to see anything with pass-through. But now that's set to 100%, you'll go ahead and notice right away that once I'm in the panel and press it, it's completely gone. So that's the pass-through property. In the upcoming versions of Visual Screens, we're going to add a few more properties as well. Keep in mind, we'll have another video based on that specific update. But for the sake of this video, we're going to just continue rolling with the first generation of the product. Alright, here is probably what you are waiting for and wondering how to do. This is actually fairly easy, so don't worry, but you're probably wanting to add your own images to the system. I want to remind you, the first thing you should do is go to settings if you want to edit the system. Do not go to the panel itself. You do not need to access that panel at all. Everything is managed in settings. So you don't even need to open this panel. So anyways, let me go ahead and show you about lollygagging. So under images and graphics, you're going to find a setting called image gallery. This is in essence the gallery that is going to appear up on this. You can add as many photos as you want. So if I want to add my own image, what I'm going to do is go to home and hit toolbox, open this up. I'm going to hit the little light bulb, hit models, and hit images. This will appear with all of my images. Do not go through the creator dashboard or your image will not load. I have come across that issue. Soon enough they'll fix it. However, for now, just go through the toolbox. It's way easier and honestly way faster. So I'm going to select this little prison photo I made, and I'm going to hit right click on it and hit copy asset ID. From here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to copy this. I'm going to make a new line, and I'm going to hit paste or Control V. So with this here, I'm going to first double click on image name and backspace, and then give it a name. So I'm going to call it prison. Now in my toolbox, I'm going to do like I just did and copy the asset ID again, double click on image ID and paste it. Now I'm going to add another one, but this time I'm going to use the actual Roblox marketplace altogether. So I'm gonna go hit Marketplace, Models, and Images. I'm gonna go down, and we'll use this one. So we're gonna copy asset ID, paste it, and type in Rick. So I'm gonna select these both, and I'm gonna hit tab, and it's gonna put it back to its formatting. Just like I said though, it does not have to be formatted because it will work regardless. Now, one thing I must make apparent in that is you cannot have the same name for multiple images, otherwise you're going to get a red line and it's not going to work. So if you get that red line, chances are you're probably just naming your images the same thing. So simply just add like a number like Rick1 or Rick2 and it will resolve the issue altogether. So now once I have these images in, all I have to do is play test and they should appear. Okay, so now that I am in, I'm gonna actually disable the toolbox. So I'm gonna boop, and you can see all my images appear, even my custom one. So remember, if I try this, boom, it's gonna pop up anything with any transition. So just remember, don't go through the creator dashboard, just go straight through the toolbox. Otherwise, you're going to probably come across an issue where it appears white. So yeah, that is honestly wraps up the entire video. We're going to be updating the product soon, so if you actually watch this video after it has been updated, please go check out the additional tutorial to help you with all of the new features that were added. But without further ado, if you have any other questions, like I said, go to our Discord, and like always, continue innovating.